aside social media for a second.
Sure.
Actually, it is part of social media. But,
I think social media is everything now.
Yeah, it's and we haven't found a better term for it. But when it comes to reviews, how do you also educate your hotels about how they should take reviews on board, you know, how they should respond and so on? Is it also part of your role, or you just let the GM do whatever they want?
No, it's definitely part of what we look at from the brand perspective, and I have the fortune of also working with a very related team of social media marketeers within my company.
Yep.
And I would like to highlight that actually Nick Ayers is my partner in crime, and also my counterpart on social media. We both of us are on the phone almost every single day. We talk about these issues, and over time we also discuss what are sort of guidelines that need to go out, what needs to be made clearer to hotels, for example. And of course, it's something that we continue to do on a day-to-day basis. We're getting better, we're learning, and it's a great journey to be on. And I don't think anybody has got all the right answers right now, but it's really over time and over experience you have better guidelines in place, and that's the journey we're in.
Right, so it's still a work in progress, and also from the experience you have with your hotels, you would say that social media have transformed the way we're communicating with our guests?
Definitely. I think when it comes to communicating in the pre-social media days, you have probably a guest sending a private email or a letter to the GM. In social media space, how it's come to is any little feedback, whether it's positive or negative, is open. It's an open platform. It can be seen by all. So in terms of that, gives us an added challenge, but it can be a very fun way to look at things as well. And that, not saying it's fun, but it gives you an added challenge. But also there's an opportunity that if something does go wrong in some of our hotels, you have the real opportunity in a very public space to try to offer assistance, and over time see if you can turn that negative advocate into a positive advocate.
Yeah.
So someone who's actually not quite happy with something that might have gone wrong in hotels.
Yeah, because you were saying on Facebook, sometimes you have some angry customers.
Yes.
You can just go on your page and
Yes.
tell them the stories, and you have to respond quickly, right?
Yes, we respond quickly.
And so how do you manage this? You just respond yourself, or you send an email to an hotel saying you need to respond to this guy, or?
The benefit of working in one of the world's largest hotel groups as well is that we do have a system in place in which we have care agents who are dedicated to helping with such care-related issues. When it comes to negative feedback or an issue that happens in our hotels, or even a complaint, we can get to them fast enough and offer the right assistance. And also one of our aims as well is to not just be able to help the guest, but be able to make that guest regain confidence in our hotels and the brand, and over time become a positive advocate and be part of our conversation as well. And we've seen so many cases of that across our different brands, and I think that's probably one of the biggest turn-ons of my job.
Great. Another question I had is that I've seen some example of pre-opening hotels who use social media to tell them about, hey, we're opening this new property and this is what we're working on right now and so on. Have you found this as a good way to interacting with the first customers?
Yeah.
You know, do you have example of?
We do have examples. It's a very interesting thing, as we all knew the royal wedding of William and Kate. That was the first royal wedding that was on social media.
Yeah.
Likewise, hotel openings are also getting into this whole social media exposure. One good example would be, I would say, the upcoming Intercontinental Moscow Traverskaya.
Oh yeah, that's the one you were mentioning.
That's right.
Yeah.
I was mentioning that. In that case as well, it's a really good example of a hotel using social media to drive.
So what do they share?
That's right. What do they share? They the hotel social media is personally being managed by the general manager, whose name is Oliver Horn, and it's both on Facebook and Twitter. And Oliver is really such a conversationalist. He would share things like how the building's progress has been.
Right.
He would share things like we're choosing uniforms and this is the range that we have. Give us your thoughts. I think it's a great way of testing certain things as well. And when it comes to putting the finishing touches to a hotel, he would do a poll that goes, if I were to place this amenity in 2 different ways, what's your preference? So Oliver is very strong in doing that. And one fun thing that Oliver has done as well is that, you know, when you think of Russia, what do you think of? You think of the dolls, the Matryoshka dolls. So what Oliver has done as well is that he has commissioned 4 of those dolls Each of them have got a name.
Yeah.
And for the last few months and in the lead up to the opening of the hotel, these stores have gone on a round the world journey, visiting different intercontinental hotels around the world. And
it's like the gnome in the Amélie movie.
Exactly. I think I'm quite sure Oliver got that inspiration from that movie and gave it a Russian twist, gave it a global spin,
and it worked.
And it worked. It's been going on, and it's what we've done is hotels are just getting so engaged.
So we go back to the same thing. Get the great story, right?
Exactly. It's all about storytelling. It's about putting a good idea out. It's about getting your other hotels involved and getting people who are passionate involved.
Exactly. I mean, that's what I was saying in the conference yesterday. It's the basics of telling a story hasn't changed. It's just maybe the way of communicating is different.
That's true.
Talking about you have this great Twitter account name, Hotel PR Guy. I think it's pretty straightforward and it's pretty easy to remember. So first of all, what is your view on where Twitter is going? Do you see this as just a communication channel? Is it? How do you approach Twitter these days on a day-to-day business related?
I think I would say Twitter is not just a business platform. It's for me very much a personal thing.
So you combine both?
I do combine both, and I think that's a very good way to go. Just like every personality or any person out there has got a day side and a weekend side, a weekday and weekend side, just like our hotels do. I take a similar approach as well.
Right.
I started tweeting on Hotel PR Guide back in October 2009, so it's not been around for that long, and over time I'm learning a lot as well. I find it a great way. I think one of the biggest ways I've used Twitter is just making relationships, encouraging conversations on anything to do with travel. I don't just talk about hotels. I don't just talk about intercontinental, for example.
And I've seen this. You really understood that you need to get out of the corporate environment as well.
That's right. It's all about establishing connections, and it's all about how we found each other through Wendy, who's UK LA girl, for example. So I think that's a really good platform for someone to be able to carry on a conversation, to exchange ideas.
Do you use a tweet, right?
A combination of, I use Uber Social,
Uber Social,
BlackBerry, as well as Hootsuite.
Right.
And I do mix around my applications a bit and explore new ones, just because there's so many new cool ones coming up.
That's right. I'm on the same page as you. Things are changing so quickly. It's incredible. I don't know how you can keep up with the new features and so on. I wanted to talk to you about blogs. First of all, do you have blogs that are related to your brands or the group, or have you started something and you stopped doing this because it was not the right platform? Can you lead?
Yeah, we have gone into blogs. We have experimented with blogs. But for now, when it comes to brand engagement through social media, we find that the use of platforms like Facebook and Twitter are probably the way to go, more effective, and I would say easier to handle in terms of the resource perspective as well.
Sure.
I'm not saying that blogs are not relevant for us, it's just that we have experimented with it, and it's probably an area where we haven't cracked the code for. But I have seen lots of other brands and even personalities like yourself using blogs, and it really works for them. In our case, we have experimented with it, and we've decided that social media venues like Facebook and Twitter, for example, would be where we put our focus on.
Great, thank you. My last question is, if we, I'm sure you are also observing what's going on outside the industry. What is your best example of a big brand that have really understood the dynamics of social media?
Well, I think so many good brands out there, because on Twitter on quite a regular basis, I would say the airlines are doing a pretty good job across the board. I am very interested in what the airlines are doing, and I continue to learn from them and establish relationships with them. And interesting to note as well that if you look at influencers in travel.com, very proud to note that I'm among the top influencers of corporate among the biggest airlines in the world. So that's those are my peers I continue to gain inspiration from and learn from.
Any company in mind?
British Airways is a great example of a company that I think does social media really well, as well as Virgin Atlantic, and I know both of them very well. I'm a user of both, and as a company we do have partnerships with both airlines as well. So those are examples, and I guess away from the hotel industry, Lexus USA would be a good example of
Lexus, the car.
That's right. That's right. So that's one I can think of as a brand that really got social media, that understood how social media works, and it's one of the brands I continue to learn from.
Well, thank you very much, Charles, for your
Thanks,
time.
Guillaume.
Great talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great.